Hi kids, good morning and welcome again to our third part of the story of Moses. Today we're going to be looking at the final part of the story. The story is very, very long about Moses and how he led the Israelites out of Egypt and to Mount Sinai where he got the Ten Commandments. But we've cut down the story a little bit just to give you the main parts. And today we are going to go to the part where Moses passes the Red Sea from the Egyptians, and then he takes the Israelites to Mount Sinai where God speaks to them and gives him his Ten Commandments. So let's take a look, shall we? 3 months to the day after leaving Egypt, we came to the Sinai desert and camped at the foot of Mount Sinai itself. It was on Mount Sinai that God first spoke from the burning bush, telling me to go and bring the Israelites from Egypt. Now I had returned, bringing all Israel with me. There we camped and waited. On the mountain of the third day, we were woken by the sound of thunder. The mountain was alive with thunder and lightning, and the noise was indescribable. People woke in terror, running this way and that, crying and screaming. And all were saying the same thing, "Find Moses. Where is Moses? Save us." And they had good reason to be afraid. With a trumpet blast louder than thunder, God himself came down onto the mountain. So I went up to the mountainside, up into the smoke and cloud, though the ground trembled and smoke billowed out as from a furnace. And there I saw God face to face, and God spoke to me. And then I went back to the people and told them everything that God had said. The Lord our God brought us out of Egypt. If we obey his commandments, then out of all the people on earth he will treasure us the most. These are his rules that we must obey if we are to be his people. Listen to what he says. 1. You shall have no other gods besides me. 2. You shall not make idols in the shape of anything in heaven or on the earth or below the waters, and you shall not bow down to them or worship them. 3. Do not take the Lord's name in vain, for God will punish anyone who misuses his name. 4. Remember the seventh day and keep it holy. You shall work for 6 days, but you must not work on the seventh. 5. Honor your father and mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord has given you. 6. You shall not murder. 7. You shall not commit adultery. 8. You shall not steal. 9. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. And 10. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife or manservant or maidservant, or his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. And they saw the lightning and heard the thunder and were so afraid that they begged to speak to God for them. It wasn't to last, of course. The complaining returned. But now we had God's law to live by, the 10 Commandments, and the hundreds of other laws given by God covering all life. God wanted us to love him and obey his laws. We were to care for one another, and his laws showed us how. The law provided for the poor and protected the land, not just a set of restrictions, but a tool for living, a gift from God, and the people accepted it gladly. I built an altar with 12 stones to represent the 12 tribes of Israel, descended from Jacob's 12 sons. I read aloud to them the terms of the covenant with God, and they replied, "We will do everything our God says, and we will obey." And so I went to talk with God once more, taking with me Joshua, who had fought the Amalekites. Together we made our way back up the mountain. And we were gone for 40 days. In that time, God told us how to build the Ark of the Covenant, the box that would hold the formal agreement between God and his people. And we were told to build the tabernacle, the tent where God would dwell during the journey. And when God had finished, he gave me the 10 Commandments written on stone, and then we went back down to the people. Moses, you can hear shouting. Is there war in the camp? What's happened? That's not shouting, Joshua. It's singing. It turned out we had been gone long enough for the people to think we would never return. No, I left Aaron in charge. This shouldn't have happened. They're completely out of control. They're worshiping that golden cow. The fools. Don't they understand anything? Aaron, what have you done? And Aaron said, Moses, we thought you must be dead. I can explain everything. You know what the people are like, and with you gone, they said they wanted gods to go before them. I took their gold and jewelry and threw it in the fire, and look, this cow came out. This cow came out? You made it with tools. You made it. I don't know what I was expecting from them, but I certainly wasn't this. They'd agreed to worship no other gods, and yet as soon as I left them alone, they actually went and made one. I was so enraged I smashed the stone tablets, the tablets that God had written on with his own hand. I took the wretched cow they made and burned it in the fire and ground it into powder, mixed it with water and made them drink it. I pleaded with God to spare them, reminding him of the promise made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that from that he would come a whole nation. And he forgave them, and he gave them a chance after chance to accept his ways, but the Israelites never were satisfied. And then, when we were within sight of the promised land, the people provoked God's anger again. I sent 12 spies to survey the land ahead. Caleb from the tribe of Judah and Joshua reported the land was just as God had said it would be. People fled in terror whenever they saw them because of what our God had done, and the people we would have to fight were fainting at the sight of us. But other spies exaggerated and lied, saying the people there were too strong for us, and the land too poor to sustain life. All that night we argued with them. Joshua and Caleb said, the land here is good. If it pleases God, we will lead us into the land promised to us. But we'll have to fight. We'll die in battle. Our wives and children will be kidnapped. I say we should go back to Egypt. Egypt, but we have nothing to fear. If God is with us, then these people can do nothing to us. We don't care. People say there are giants roaming loose, and we're like grasshoppers to them. Our leaders have led us to certain death. Stone them to death. Appoint new leaders and return us to Egypt. Enough, said Moses. You were slaves in Egypt. Have you forgotten already what God has done for you? Is your faith so weak? I will appeal to God to save your lives. And God sentenced the unbelieving Israelites to wander in the desert until that whole generation had died. So you see, kids, that Moses had a very difficult time with the Israelites. They were not used to having a law from God. And so as soon as he tried to bring them the new law and what they should and shouldn't do, they turned to other fake gods, and they made the golden calf. And so God made them wander in the desert in Egypt for 40 years before they could even make it to the land that was promised to them. And so Moses had to endure all these things in order to help his people become better and to leave their old ways and to change and to become the people of God. And so after all those 40 years, they finally reached the promised land and were able to settle in the place where God had promised to them, but only after many, many years of sacrifice. And so this is kind of the end of the story of Moses, and there are many more stories in the Old Testament, and we will continue with those next week. God bless all of you, and may we have a blessed Nativity fast.